The world stands on the edge. Old powers rise again. New alliances are born. The dream? A world of many voices, not just one. But will this dream bring peace or pull nations into conflict? Join me now as we explore the dramatic journey of China, Russia, and the West in the fight for the future of our world. Chapter 1: The Rise of China and Russia. Background: The world has changed. But this change did not happen overnight. Let me take you back to the beginning. In the early 20th century, China and Russia were not strong. They were broken, poor, tired from wars and revolutions. The people suffered, and the world did not fear them. Russia became the Soviet Union in 1922. It grew fast: factories, armies, space rockets. But life was not easy for the people. In 1991, the Soviet Union fell apart. The world thought, Russia is finished. But Russia was not finished. China's story was different, yet also hard. In 1949, Mao Zedong started a new China, the People's Republic of China. For years, the country stayed poor and closed to the world. Then came a turning point. In the 1980s, China opened its doors. Trade, business, and factories changed everything. In just a few decades, China became the world's second largest economy. Today, China and Russia stand tall. They have strong leaders, big armies, powerful economies. They speak loudly in world meetings, and they want respect. But what do they want exactly? Peace? Power? Control? Maybe all three. Many say China and Russia want to change the rules of the world. They do not want one country, like the United States, to lead alone. They want a multipolar world, a world where many powers share control. Some people fear this. They remember wars of the past. They ask, will China and Russia bring peace or bring conflict? This is only the beginning of the story. Their path has not been easy. Their future is not clear. One thing is sure. The world watches closely. The next steps of China and Russia could change everything. The world holds its breath. Will these giants rise together or fall apart? Chapter 2: What is a multipolar world? For many years, the world had one main leader. After World War II, the United States became the strongest country. It had the biggest army, the biggest economy, the most powerful voice. This was called a unipolar world. One pole, one center of power. But history does not stand still. Other countries started to rise: Russia, China, Europe, and many others. China and Russia began to say, no more. They believe the world should not have only one leader. They believe in a multipolar world. But what does that mean? Imagine a table. One chair means one voice. Many chairs mean many voices. That is the dream of a multipolar world. A world with shared power, shared decisions, shared responsibility. Sounds fair, right? But it is not so simple. A multipolar world can also mean competition. Different countries have different ideas and different goals. Who decides what is right? Who decides what is fair? Some people say a multipolar world is dangerous. They remember the early 1900s. Back then, many powers fought for control. The result? World War I. Millions of people suffered and died. Could this happen again? Or can today's leaders learn from the past? Can they talk, not fight? Can they work together, not against each other? China and Russia believe they can. They say, "We do not want war. We want respect." But their actions and their strong armies make some nations nervous. The United States and Europe watch closely. They wonder, will China and Russia use their power to help the world or only themselves? Smaller countries also worry. They ask, in a world of giants, who will protect us? The dream of a multipolar world is beautiful. A world of balance, a world of peace, a world of many cultures and voices, but will it stay a dream? Or will it become a nightmare of endless competition? The world stands at a crossroad. Which path will we take? The world holds its breath. Will a multipolar world bring peace or chaos? Chapter 3. China's long friendship with Russia. Two neighbors, two giants, two nations that have shaped history, together. The story of China and Russia is not simple. It is a story of cold winters, big dreams, and silent promises. They share a long border, sometimes friendly, sometimes tense. They share a long past, full of hope, full of fear. In the early 20th century, both countries were weak. They fought wars. They lost land. Their people suffered hunger and pain, but they survived. They rebuilt. They learned. After World War II, their friendship grew stronger. The Soviet Union helped China build factories, schools, and armies. The two leaders stood together. They dreamed of a world free from Western control. But even friends can argue. In the 1960s, China and Russia disagreed. They fought over ideas. They fought over borders. Their friendship froze, like the cold Siberian winds. Years passed. The world changed. And slowly, carefully, they talked again. They traded goods. They signed deals. They visited each other. Today, China and Russia say they are strategic partners. They work together in politics, energy, and the military. Russia sells oil and gas to China. China sells cars, electronics, and machines to Russia. They also stand together in world meetings. They say, the world should have many voices, not just one. But is it true friendship? Or is it just business? Some say they trust each other deeply. Others say they work together only because they need to. Russia faces pressure from the West. China faces tension in Asia. Together, they feel stronger. But will their friendship survive? What happens if their interests change? What happens if one becomes too strong? The world watches closely. Two powerful neighbors walking side by side. For now. The world holds its breath. Will China and Russia remain loyal friends or silent rivals? Chapter 4. Xi Jinping and Putin, The leaders behind the alliance. Every friendship has faces behind it. Every alliance has leaders who shape its path. In the story of China and Russia, two men stand tall, Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin. They are strong. They are determined. They are respected and sometimes feared. But who are they? What do they want? And how did they build this powerful bond? Let's begin with Xi Jinping, born in 1953 in Beijing, China. He grew up during hard times. His father was a famous revolutionary, later punished by the government. Young Xi was sent to the countryside. There, he worked in the fields. There, he learned patience, discipline, and survival. In 2012, Xi became China's leader. He promised to make China strong again. He spoke of the Chinese dream, a dream of national pride and global respect. Xi believes in stability, in control. He leads with a calm face, but a firm hand. Many people admire his strength. Others say he holds too much power. Now, let's meet Vladimir Putin, born in 1952 in Leningrad, Russia, today called St. Petersburg. Petersburg. His childhood was simple. His city had suffered much in war. Putin trained in judo, learning discipline and focus. Later, he became a KGB officer, a spy for the Soviet Union. In 2000, he became president of Russia. He promised to bring back order and pride, and he did. Under Putin, Russia became strong again, but his rule has not been without questions. Both men understand power. Both believe their countries must not be weak. Both see the world in a similar way, a world of respect for tradition, a world where no single country rules over others. They meet often. They smile for the cameras. They sign deals. They shake hands. But what do they really think of each other? Is it true friendship or smart politics? Some experts say their bond is practical. China needs energy. Russia sells energy. Russia needs markets. China buys products. Together, they push for a multipolar world, a world with many powers, not just one. They support each other at world meetings. They stand together when criticized by the West. But nothing in politics lasts forever. What happens if their goals start to clash? What happens if trust breaks? The world watches closely. Two leaders, two strong wills, two nations that could change history. The world holds its breath. Will Xi and Putin's bond stay strong, or will cracks appear when the winds of change blow? Chapter 5. Why China supports Russia in global politics. In global politics, actions speak louder than words. When Russia faces pressure from the West, when sanctions and sharp words come from America and Europe, China does not walk away. Why? The answer is not simple. It is a puzzle of loyalty, business, and a shared vision of the world. Let's begin with history. China and Russia have been partners and sometimes rivals for over 70 years. They know the cost of isolation. They know the feeling of standing alone. Today, they choose to stand together. China and Russia both believe in a world with many powers. They do not want just one leader, like the United States. They speak of a multipolar world, a world of balance, a world of respect for every nation. But there is also business. Russia is rich in oil, gas, and minerals. China needs these resources to grow its factories, cities, and industries. At the same time, China sells machines, cars, and electronics to Russia. Trade between the two countries has grown fast. In 2023, they traded over $200 billion. This partnership helps both economies stay strong, even when other countries say no. There is another reason. China believes in stability. A weak Russia could bring chaos to the region. China does not want war at its borders. It does not want more enemies. So, supporting Russia also protects China's own interests. Yet, the relationship has limits. China is careful. It does not join Russia's wars. It does not fully agree with every Russian action. Why? China values its image. It wants to be seen as a peaceful world leader. It wants to build strong trade with Europe, Africa, and the rest of Asia. Too close to Russia. And some doors may close. Too far from Russia, and the friendship could break. It is a delicate balance, like walking on a thin wire. One wrong step could mean disaster. The West watches this partnership closely. Will China stay neutral? Will it support Russia even more? Or will it one day step back? For now, China and Russia stand together. They sign deals. They meet in public. They speak of friendship and shared goals. But deep inside, both know the truth. In global politics, friends today can be rivals tomorrow. The world watches, listens, and waits. The world holds its breath. Will China and Russia keep walking side by side, or will the road ahead pull them apart? Chapter 6. The West versus the Multipolar Vision. For decades, the West has shaped the world, the United States, Europe. Together, they created global rules. Rules for trade, rules for security, rules for politics. They built strong alliances. NATO, the European Union, the World Bank, and more. They believed this would bring peace and order. But not everyone agrees. China and Russia look at these rules and say, "We have a different way." They believe the West holds too much power. They believe the rules are not fair for all. They say, "The world has changed. It is time for balance." This is the heart of the conflict. Not a war of guns, but a war of ideas. The West defends what it calls a rules-based order. Freedom, democracy, human rights. These are its words. But China and Russia ask, whose rules? Whose values? Why should others always follow the West? Instead, they offer their own vision. A world with many powers, not just one. A world where countries can choose their own way. They call this the multipolar world. The battle is everywhere. In Africa, where China builds roads, ports, and schools. In the Middle East, where Russia plays a strong political role. In Asia, where the US and China compete for influence. Technology is also part of this fight. The West leads in companies like Google, Apple, Microsoft. China rises with Huawei, TikTok, Alibaba. Each side wants to set the rules for the future. Sanctions, trade wars, military exercises. These are the tools in this silent conflict. Each side pushes and waits to see who will blink first. Smaller countries are caught in the middle. They wonder, should we follow the West? Should we work with China and Russia? Or, can we stay neutral? It is not easy. There are risks everywhere. One wrong choice could bring punishment or isolation. And the big question remains, can both sides share the world peacefully, or will competition turn into open conflict? The world has seen this before. During the Cold War, the US and the Soviet Union stood on opposite sides. They never fought directly, but fear and tension filled the air for decades. Today, some say we are entering a new Cold War. But there is still hope. Hope that nations will talk, not fight. Hope that leaders will find common ground. The world holds its breath. Will the future belong to one power or many? Will the battle of ideas bring peace or push us toward a dangerous edge? Chapter 7. The Impact on Smaller Nations. The giants move. China, Russia, the West. They push, they pull, they compete. But what about the smaller nations? What happens to them in this global struggle? From Africa to Asia, Latin America to the Pacific? Small countries stand between the powers. They do not have huge armies. They do not have massive economies. But they have something very important: resources, land, location, votes in the United Nations. Each power wants their friendship. Each power offers deals, promises, and help. China builds roads, bridges, and ports in Africa. They call it the Belt and Road Initiative. A new Silk Road, connecting countries by trade. Russia sells weapons and energy to smaller nations. It offers military training. It supports leaders who share its views. The West gives money for schools, hospitals, and development. It also offers security agreements and education programs. So, what should these smaller countries do? Should they choose a side? Or should they try to stay neutral? The answer is not easy. Choosing China may bring fast roads and new jobs, but also debt and dependence. Choosing Russia may bring weapons and support, but also international criticism. Choosing the West may bring education and safety, but also pressure to follow Western values. Some countries try to balance all sides. They say yes to China for trade, yes to Russia for security, and yes to the West for cooperation. But this balancing act is dangerous. One wrong step, one broken promise, and they risk losing everything. The people of these countries watch closely. They wonder, will these powerful nations truly help us, or are we just pieces on a large chessboard? History gives a warning. In the past, small nations became battlegrounds during the Cold War. The US and the Soviet Union fought for influence in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. The result? Wars, coups, and suffering for millions of innocent people. Will history repeat itself? Or have leaders learned from the past? There is hope. Some smaller countries are joining together. They form groups to speak with one voice. The African Union, ASEAN in Southeast Asia, the non-aligned movement. They say, we want respect. We want peace. We want our own future. The world holds its breath. Will the great powers listen? Will smaller nations write their own story? Or be written by others once again? Chapter 8. Is a new Cold War starting? The world feels tense, again. Old fears return like cold winds from the past. Some people are asking the same dark question. Is a new Cold War starting? Let's go back for a moment. The first Cold War happened after World War II. It was not a war of tanks or bombs between the US and the Soviet Union. It was a war of ideas, of influence, of fear. The world was divided. Two sides, two systems, two powerful enemies. For over 40 years, the world held its breath, wondering if the next day would bring peace or nuclear disaster. Then, in 1991, the Cold War ended. The Soviet Union collapsed. The US became the world's only superpower. Many people thought, the danger is over. But today, something feels familiar. Once again, big powers are facing each other. The US and its allies on one side, China and Russia on the other. There are no tanks crossing borders, no world leaders declaring war, but there are sanctions, sharp words, and secret plans. The US and Europe punish Russia with economic sanctions. They stop trading. They freeze bank accounts. China is warned to be careful in its support of Russia. At the same time, alliances grow stronger. The US works more closely with NATO, Japan, South Korea, and Australia. Russia and China meet more often. They hold joint military exercises. They talk about a new world order. The world watches nervously. The headlines are loud. Some call it Cold War 2.0. But is it really the same? Some say no. Today's world is more connected. Trade, technology, and global problems like climate change force countries to work together. Leaders talk about peace. They meet at global summits. They shake hands and smile for cameras. Yet deep down, the fear remains. The risk of misunderstanding, of mistakes, of dangerous moves. One wrong decision could lead to a crisis no one wants. The question is clear. Have we learned from history? Or will we repeat the same mistakes? The hope is strong. Diplomacy can still win. Talks can still stop tensions from becoming war. The world holds its breath. Will this be just a cold shadow of the past, or the start of something far worse? Chapter 9. The future is unwritten. Will the world divide or unite? The story is not over. The world stands at a crossroads. One path leads to unity, the other to division. China and Russia say a multipolar world is the future. A world with many strong countries. A world where decisions are shared, not just by one power, but by many voices. The United States and Europe say we want a rules-based order. A world built on law, democracy, and human rights. They believe this system keeps peace and protects freedom. So, who will lead? Who will follow? Or will everyone go their own way? The next years will be critical. Will countries work together to fight climate change, to stop wars, to help poor nations? Or will they compete for resources, power, and control? Will old fears return, like shadows from the Cold War? Technology adds to the uncertainty. Who will lead in artificial intelligence? Who will control space travel and deep-sea exploration? The answers remain unknown, yet they will shape the world for generations. Small countries also have a role. They are starting to speak up. They say, we want a seat at the table. Africa, Asia, Latin America. They want to be heard. They want respect. They want peace. The people of the world watch closely. Ordinary men and women, students, farmers, teachers. They wonder, will the powerful listen? Will our leaders choose peace over pride? Some believe hope is stronger than fear. They believe the world can build bridges, not walls. They believe we can unite in respect and understanding. But the danger is real. Tensions remain. One wrong word, one wrong action could pull the world apart. The world holds its breath. Will we walk the road to unity or fall into division once again? The future is unwritten. The next moves belong to us all.